So here we are with Beta's unique and novel cross trainer 300 two-stroke. Been in 7 years in production now. Originally designed as a cost-effective stepping stone for people coming into the sport who didn't necessarily need a full-blown enduro bike or perhaps weren't quite ready for it. And as a result, a lot of older, people bought them, a lot of women. But I think what we found in recent years, and certainly from the sales statistics and from Geoff Ballard, who has had this Transmoto project bike now for the best part of 4 months, and all that feedback is suggesting that the bike's actually much more versatile than that. Not only as an introductory, less intimidating bike, not only as an extreme bike, but actually something that's pretty damn good unless you spend your whole time on fire trails. Geoff Ballard, the 2021 Beta Cross Trainer 300. Pretty interesting bike, unique in its class. Now in its 7th year of production, they designed it. Originally, I guess they designed as a stepping stone, cost-effective machine for somebody less experienced, who might not want a full-blown RR300, full-blown enduro bike, or wasn't quite ready for it. But in the meantime, I think in more recent years, and certainly from what you told me, your experience, it's not just limited to that less experienced newbie market.
Yeah, it's one of the things that, almost annoys me. For this bike, I got to ride it a few years ago, and it was before the counterbalance. Yeah, I was really impressed with it back then, just as a pretty bloody easy bike to ride and fun and all that sort of stuff. And, since that time, I've had it for 4 months or something now and been riding it quite a bit. And, for me, I personally ride a lot of single track. I don't really, I guess in a way, I'm not an average trail rider. I don't just go down a fire road. It's all single track and it's technical, and a lot of its life so far has been very tight technical stuff. But I hear things here and there about this is entry level, and I was sort of like, oh yeah. And if I think about it, I go, actually yeah, it would be good because it's pretty low. It's like a slightly scaled down thing. I can ride it really fast with standard suspension, so maybe it's limited in a few little areas. I wouldn't want to make people think that this thing, you can't ride it fast. You certainly can, and on certain tracks, I'm quicker on this bike, and we're hitting...
Compared to a typical enduro bike.
Yeah, typical enduro bike. So its strength by far is it's very light. Like that's the first impression you get is, wow, this thing is amazing. And
98
you really feel,
kilos, I think?
I think it's something like that. It's noticeable when you're on it. It's really noticeable, and if it's a lot of turns and everything, it just doesn't wear you out. You can ride it easily. But the standard pipe is a very easy pipe to keep the momentum in tight technical stuff, and it's so smooth that it's easy to ride. Yeah, I find it's like, an amazing bike for me, in many conditions. So it did sign off a bit early, of course, because it had this funky pipe that I thought was like its strength, and as it turned out, it wasn't necessarily its strength. So a lot of its time I've spent with the standard pipe, and I love it. But it did feel like, I wouldn't mind a bit more, and that'd be cool. And then I heard that they're fitting an RR pipe to them, the normal
Much bigger
huge expansion chamber, and I was thinking, I'm going to prove that this thing's not a be-all and end-all. But yeah, it is. It is a big improvement, and for me and where I ride and everything, it's not like you go, oh well, I just sacrificed the bottom end. It's still incredibly smooth, easy to ride, but it's got more mumbo and it's got more mid, and it's like it's more of a moto bike, So
and does that open up that, because a lot of people say so great in the tight stuff, great in technical terrain, low sleep, which a lot of enduro bikes are going toward these days as well. You can just have more control with your legs in the super technical stuff.
Easy, yeah.
But I guess some people say, but I go riding with me mates on 500s, and they're on a lot of fire trails, and we've got erosion mounds and stuff. So the pipe gives you that a little bit from an engine perspective. But what about the entire bike? If 50% of the day is some fire trail to get to some of the tight snotty stuff that enduro guys are riding.
Well, definitely with this pipe on, you can. I feel like I could, it'll accelerate really well.
Yeah.
And okay, maybe a 500 on a fire road, but that's not the sort of stuff I do. But even still, it'd be like they'd be surprised. Maybe they'd be going, "Oh, you're still there." So it's fast. It's pretty fast with this pipe on, and it's not a big sacrifice. In fact, it's no sacrifice. It's like it still seems to have the same really strong bottom end, which probably comes more so from the head design and the ports or stuff like that. I don't really know. I'm not that technical kind of guy, but the pants is. This thing hasn't lost bottom. It's very smooth still, so it's you know, why not put a pipe on? It seems like this bike has a lot of options. You can up spec and suspension to different things, and it's, yeah, if you want to, you know.
And you showed me before just how plush the thing rides. So I mean, you know, very compliant in this sort of snotty stuff that you ride a lot of.
Yep.
It probably doesn't quite have the bottoming resistance if you know, big flat landings off erosion mounds. And
it's not bad. It's not far from it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you can improve. I think personally that it's better off delivering it to the average rider that way. You know, you'll have less drama riding this bike than you will if it's on the firm side. I mean, everyone seems to be basing things for the maybe more elite guy, you know, and I go, I don't know, I think that's the right thing to do. I mean, I've heard this thing's their biggest seller, and to me it's straightforward. That makes sense. This is a great bike, you know.
Isn't it weird? Look, you look at the 5, I guess, big brands, European brands, you know, your KTM, Husky, Gas, you know, Beta and Sherco. Their 300s have all been their biggest, 300 enduro bikes have all been their biggest selling models on the market, all two-strokes. You know, here's we've got a 300 two-stroke, and yet this thing sits unique. You know, a couple of years ago, Gas used to do that X Ranger when it was owned by, you know, Spanish. But now this thing sits by itself now in the market in terms of that easy access, non-intimidating. But from what you're saying, its design brief shouldn't be so limited to that newbie market.
Look, it's really close to being, as you know, I can ride it as fast. Like my mates all ride, you know, current model. As I said, my probably favourite for outright speed at the moment is the WR 450. I seem to be the quickest on that, but that does depend on the track, you know.
Yeah.
If it's really tight, if you don't know where you're going, that's the other thing. If you're riding new stuff where you're not familiar with it, once you get familiar with where you're going, you go, oh, this corner, and you can nail it. You can compress the suspension more into that corner. But a lot of the times, if you're more exploring, you've got to be ready for something. It's so light, you can stop it so quick. Yeah, certain tracks I'd be quicker on this in a general sense, you know.
Meaning that you're hitting your log that you weren't ready for, so just that compliant suspension
is
and
forgiving. when you're off the pipe because you go, what's around here, then you appreciate the bottom and smoothness of the motor, you know. Okay. So, you know, a lot of guys who ride, every time they go riding, it's not the same as last time. It's rained, it's trees have fallen down, or we're exploring some new area or whatever. So it's a very easy bike to just jump on and ride, and as soon as you get on it, you go, wow, this is a little toy, you know.
And you tell me a story about how you went out with some mates you ride with a lot, who've got, you know, a mix of enduro bikes.
Yeah.
They were like going, geez,
that was actually the first time I rode it with the, let's call it the slower pipe or whatever.
And does that mean because it's deceptively fast?
Yeah. It surprised me. I didn't even know what they were talking about. They're going, man, you're flying. I go, oh, are we actually on the pace yet? I thought we were just trying to warm up, you know. And they go, no, you go first. And I go, okay. So then I got on the gas and, you know, I left them behind a bit, and I was like, man, I don't normally do this, you know. Yeah. So, you know, it's a different area to here. It's a technical area, but you can get on the gas. It's not like it's all slow. It's definitely not that. I mean, we love the technical stuff, but it's a bit sandy, so you can hammer into stuff. You can change direction on this bike easy. It stops quick. It's light, and it's got a lot of bottom end. So if you're surprised by something, a log, you stop. You know, instead of going whoa, and trying to get going again, it's just got smooth bottom end. You can ride it quick. So yeah, it's a pretty bloody good all rounder. It's and yeah, the only thing that really burns me up about it is people say, oh, it's entry level and all that, and I go, oh, okay. But it does make sense. It's a very easy bike for a lot of people to ride. You know, if somebody was a bit new to it, they'd probably appreciate the seats being a little bit lower. So smooth, you know, like crikey, it's got a mud map as well, you know. If you want to mellow it again, you could. I mean, for me, it's not an intimidating bike. It's not something you get on there and go, Jesus, this thing's a handful. Yeah. You feel like you're in control of this bike, and it's good fun, so it's pretty good. And you haven't done a lot with it, like I said, the pipe, I think your little expansion chamber, not a lot with the protection. It comes with a bash plate and handguards. Beta does have the aftermarket accessories catalogue, so they do that big AXP, which gives you a bit of linkage coverage as well. I think an 8mm AXP bash plate. Yeah, I think it does. Look, I've just flogged it, you know, and thrown it down plenty of hills and stuff, just getting in awkward spots, and it survived. You know, I haven't had this pipe on all that long. It is a more vulnerable pipe, that's for sure. Yeah. I don't really understand why they put the other pipe on now. I thought the magic was in the other pipe, but it's not really. But it's certainly a great pipe, and I could ride it fast with that too. But yeah, you know, it's survived everything I've given it for the last 4 months or something like that. So yeah, it seems a good thing. I kind of like it. Yeah.
Surprisingly versatile from what you're saying.
Yeah,
Like, much more than what the original design brief 7 years ago was. Was actually introduced for.
I can't believe a lot of manufacturers aren't looking at something like this. It seems sensible to me.
Well, given it's now, I think just late last year taken over Beta in Australia anyway, is the largest selling model, which is pretty phenomenal. It makes sense from what you're saying because of the versatility of the bike, and the price. I mean, it's under 11 grand. It's $2 cheaper than the typical the counterparts in the full-blown enduro range.
Yeah, and you can up-spec it if you want. It's not like, oh man, you just have to up-spec it. It's not like that. For what I ride, it's pretty fine. If I ended up with one of these, which I might even see if they'll sell it to me, because I love it in many sort of conditions, and maybe I'd play a bit more with the suspension, but it's decent. It's decent.
And it's filled what's a pretty big hole now. I mean, back in the day, DRZs, XRs, these sort of things, and then now we've had all these hard-nosed enduro bikes, and everybody, the measure of their how good a bike is about its performance, whether it can win a world championship. So it makes a lot of sense now that this thing sort of comes in.
Yeah, for me, my mates have ridden it too, and they go, "Wow, this thing's awesome! It's a throw-around toy that handles anything I've thrown at it, and it's easy to ride." And easy to ride means getting on the gas much earlier, and people go, "Wow, you're riding that thing well," and it's just easy to do it. It's it's a major thing. I guess the thing you would straight away notice is you get on, you go, "Wow, this is like a little toy. It doesn't weigh much. It's slightly smaller, not much. It's got a little bit less ground clearance. It's got a little bit less travel, but it's so light, manoeuvrable. You can ride it easily in a lot of terrains. Yeah.
Speaking of riding, why don't we get back out there? You've done a few laps this morning. You're telling us about a couple of snotty hills. Let's get out there.
And there's a typical shit we ride through out here.
Let's get into it.
Nice.